Welcome back, everybody. It's Cree Rama from Junk Journal Divas. Hello, my creative friends. For my November Diva Delight project, I wanted to do something fun with prompts. So what I decided is I have a list here of 7 different tags that we are going to make. You can choose to just do 1 or 2 or do all 7 with me. And you create a tag base using the prompts, and then once you have the base done, use some kind of a focal point. It could be a word or an image or a photo that depicts something that you're thankful for. So that is my project for the month. So I'm starting off with the first list of prompts, which is paper scraps, lace, and pink. I did a little bit of prep work before, and I just cut some tags out of food packaging. So I grabbed one of my tags, and I have these papers, and they are left over from when I was doing some embossed paper, kind of like the edges that did not get embossed because the paper was larger than my embossing folder. So these are the pieces that I cut off, but they have metallic paint on them, so I wanted to save them, and that's what I decided to use. So I just grabbed a bunch of those, and I'm just laying them across my tag, so I'll have kind of paper scrap strips, I guess. So I'm just going to do that, and I actually decided to cover another one because I liked these so much. I thought, I have the scraps out, I might as well go ahead and put them on a tag and maybe use them for something else later. I like doing master boards like this too. If I have little cut off strips, just lay them on some food packaging, maybe a piece of cardstock or something, and then I can add stamping and other things on top of it. And I usually have a couple of these prepared or just kind of made in my stash so that I can just grab them. And even if they're not the right colors or something, I can always go over them with gesso and add some splatters of paint or something like that. So now I'm just going to cut off the edges here, and I'm going to do the other side. So for both of the tags that I do here, I do them two-sided. I had enough scraps to do that. So now that I have my base done, well, actually I have 2 bases done, but I'm only going to use 1 today. So moving on to the other prompt here. So I have lace, and it's also pink. So that already takes care of all of my prompts. And now I'm just kind of playing around with how I want to arrange the lace here. And I'm using a piece of double-sided tape just to hold it down because I am going to go through my sewing machine with this tag. And just going around inking the edges. I really like using the double-sided tape for things like this, just to sort of hold things in place before doing sewing. So now you can see this is after going through the sewing machine. And for this tag, what I'm thankful for, my twin girls. So I picked out a paper doll of twin girls, and that's what I'm going to use for my focal point. And since I've been doing so much work with papers and embossed papers and dyeing them, I had this piece. It looks like a piece of wood, and I just cut a little heart out of it, and I'm going to go ahead and put that in the background and then pick out a sentiment to put on it, and this one will be complete. So I picked this sentiment that says made with love. I thought that was cute. And then here's a look at my final tag. And for my next prompts, I have dictionary page, splatter, and orange. So I knew the thing I'm thankful for that I wanted to use here was having time to create. That's what I am thankful for. So I used my clock die cut, and I'm ripping out some dictionary pages here to cover my tag. So that's one of the prompts that will be done, and I'm going to go ahead and cover both sides. So when you cover one side, make sure you use your hole punch and cut that hole out before you do the other side, because it's hard to to get it lined up, and then you kind of lose the spot where your hole was. So now that I've got the dictionary pages on, and they're pretty thin, so I'm going to go over them with a thin layer of some acrylic gel medium. So I'm going to do that to both sides and just dry it really well. And you guys, this one gave me a little bit of, I had to work for this one. I really wanted to use the clock, but I just couldn't figure out exactly how I wanted all these elements to work together. So I have my clock for the time that I have my orange embossed piece of paper. And so now I'm doing some splatters because the clock just didn't look right. I needed something like a darker background for it to pop. So I'm using, I think this is just vintage photo spray, and now I'm kind of using a book page because I wanted to smear it around a little bit and the wax paper wasn't really doing the job. So I used the book page, and now I'm just drying it. And I found this, it says Creative Soul, and I thought, okay, this is perfect. But still, you'll see here, I shuffle everything around so many times before deciding on how to put these elements onto my tag. So now again, this is some pieces of scraps from my my papers that has that sort of metallic mica sheen to it. So I'm putting some of those down in the background. And I also grabbed this orange butterfly, so I'm going to cut that out. So I just wasn't quite happy with the clock. So I'm kind of playing around here with the elements, and it wasn't popping out the way that I wanted it to. So I'm going to glue it down onto this other piece of paper. This is one of my dyed papers that I just did. And I wasn't sure how I wanted this to be, if I wanted it to have a rough edge or if I wanted it to be smooth around the clock and use my scissors. So I'm starting off just kind of doing the rough edge to see if I like it. And that only took a second, and I decided to cut it out so it's smooth around the edges. And so now I'm kind of happy with the way everything's looking, and I'm going to ink everything up, all my elements here, and then get ready to glue them down. I also decided to grab one of my thin markers, fine tip markers, and go around that clock just to make it pop a little bit more. So now I have my dictionary page, I have orange, and I have my splatters. So now I'm ready to start gluing everything down. And I decided to add some extra splatters once I had everything down. I'm going around the edges and, everything is complete, but I decided here to do some more splatters. And if you see my Creative Soul area, it kind of got covered up, and okay, I really didn't like this. So I thought maybe if I use embossing powder, because the translucent embossing glaze, it usually will make things that are dark sort of pop. So I thought maybe it would take care of that. I didn't like it. It just wasn't working out, and it all just looked really dark. So I grabbed my white paint marker and just went over it at the bottom. So we fixed it. Then I'm just adding some fibers at the top here. And I do go around this one also and do some sewing. So here's the final result. So the next prompts, we've got cardboard, stamp, and brown. So I'm starting off with my tag here, and I have some cardboard. And the thing that I am thankful for that I wanted to add here is home. I'm thankful for my home. And this kind of popped into my head because I just did, a couple of months ago, I did a video where I was making wonky houses for one of my Diva Delights, and that was inspired by Randy Kirby. And I used cardboard pieces as the roofs of my house. So I had that pop into my head. And also, so I'm covering my tags here with, this is a piece of my dyed paper, and you can't see the other side yet, but there is a stamp, like a grass stamp, and there you can kind of see it. So I'm going to cover both sides again with this paper. So that takes care of my stamp. I have my cardboard, and I'll just have to find something brown to add. So I'm pretty much ready to go here. I got my hole punched back in there, and I'm going to go around the edges like always, and then think about how I want to start doing my house. So I decided to use my foundry wax on the cardboard for the roof of my house, and I like this stuff. I wasn't quite sure about what to think about it at first, but I do like working with it now. And when you put your heat gun on it, it sets really quickly and it just becomes more like a brighter metallic. And then I have this piece of, again, it's another piece of paper that I had embossed, and I just covering my house with that because it looks like wood. And I'm going to go ahead and gluing everything down here. And then I also have this piece of packing paper that I glue down, which is brown. And then I happen to have a lot of embossed papers and stuff, like I said, because I've been working on it. So I have a lot of different textures and stuff going on here, which makes it more fun. Now just kind of adding little pieces to be a window and a door. And I had tiny little pieces that I'd cut off from the cardboard, and I thought it kind of looks like a shutter. So I put those on the sides of the window. I put a little bling on for the doorknob, and now using letters for home. And I saw this little heart. I had to add that there. And just doing some outlining around, the door, just to make these little pieces pop a little bit more. And then just add the fibers, and I am finished with this one. And I've got to tell you, I love this one. It's always fun. You just never know what things are going to turn out like. And yeah, I wasn't sure about this, but absolutely loved it. So here's
moving on
a
to the
look at
next
this
prompts,
final
we've got circles,
piece.
fabric, and stitches.
Okay guys, I am back, and I'm going to work on the number 4, which is circles, stitches, and fabric. And the thing I'm thankful for is Divas, my Divas group. I love all of my friends in there, my admin friends that I started the group with. So I was thinking our logo, everything is black, white, and red. So I'm thinking I've got this paper to cover my tag. And then I'm thinking I'll put some, I don't know, some kind of fabric, reddish fabric. And then in circles, I was thinking I could do Divas. That's my thought so far. So let's see how that goes. So I'm kind of skipping ahead a little bit here, and I'm showing, I covered my tag with black, and I cut out these circles, and then I got some stickers, letters to put on the circles. But there was something about, I just was not happy with the way it was looking. It was just really dark looking, and I felt like I needed some white, and I tried so many different things. It just wasn't working out. So, well, as far as, as an artist, you've got to have that feeling like you're happy with the way everything's looking, and I just wasn't reaching that point. So I ended up scratching this whole thing, and I completely started over. I have one of my papers from the jelly printing that I was doing, and I used bubble wrap, so it's got the circles on it, and it's red and has darker colors. So this is what I cover my tag with. And instead of putting the letters on my circles, since I already have the circle background, I have these stamps that I really like the letters. So I got a strip of black paper and I am going to stamp the letters, the Divas word, and then I'm going to use some perfect pearls, kind of give it that metallic look. So I'm just going over this with my embossing ink and then stamping the word diva down. And I have this, it's like gold color that I'm gonna put on top of it. And then after you're finished with this, to set the powder, you just spritz it with some water. I don't show that in the video. So I'm just gonna go ahead and glue this down. And then after I get all my pieces down, I do go around the whole thing like always, and I sew around the edges. And I had a little piece of some bling that I added up in the corner, and then I also got a little strip of some gold trim, and I added that down the ruffle ribbon that I made. So here's a look at the finished tag. And for the next set of prompts, we have embossed, yellow, and washi. And as soon as I saw yellow, I immediately thought of the sun and the beach, and that led me to family vacation. So my next thing that I'm thankful for is family vacation. I love it. It's where we make our memories, and we always go to the beach together. And for the embossed part of the prompt, I have this embossing folder. It's rainbows, but I thought I could maybe make those look like waves somehow. So I'm trying it out. I just took some different colors of blue, ran them through the embossing machine, and now I'm cutting out the so-called waves. And I wasn't sure how I wanted to put these together, if I wanted to use the more pointy parts of the waves or if I wanted to use the more rounded part. And then I kind of figured out that I like them both together. So I cut these pieces up a little bit more and just alternate them and lay them out. And when I glue them down, I just glued the very bottom, and then that allowed me to kind of slide one behind the other, and I just stacked them up. And I have a brown piece of paper to go at the bottom, but I need to cover the top part here that will be underneath my sun. So I just put another piece of paper down there, and then I can add my sun that I used the washi tape to cover. And here you can see this brown piece of textured paper that I'm using at the bottom. And just kind of adding this last little wave piece here at the bottom. And then here is my sun that I covered in the gold washi tape. So then I had, the idea, I remembered that I had these stamps that are like a family road trip. So after I glue all my little pieces down here, I grabbed those stamps and I just cut out the individual pieces. Aren't these so cute? And then I just used a piece of black cardstock that was just a scrap left over and put at the bottom for my car to kind of make it look like a road. And then the little sentiment that says, "Are we there yet?" And you guys, usually that's me saying that, not my kids. And then I wanted the car and the sentiment to pop out a little bit more. So I'm going over it with some embossing glaze and just kind of using a brush to get it off the other areas. So the embossing glaze, again, it's translucent, so it just makes things pop out a little bit more. So then I just add some yellow sari silk that I have and tie that for the top of my tag. And I'm all finished with this one. I love this one. It's so cute. Here's a look at the final product. And now moving on to the next one, which is texture paste, burlap, and string. For this one, I grabbed the other tag that I made in the beginning with the strips of paper. And for my burlap, I'm cutting it in the shape of a heart. And the thing that I'm thankful for here is my hubby. We have been together since college. It's been 20 some years, so I need to make a tag for him. I'm using a piece of this drywall tape. I love using this stuff for all kinds of things. I'm using it here as a stencil and putting my texture paste on, and then I'm using the embossing glaze on top of the texture paste when it's still wet, and then just dry that. And now I'm using the, as I always do, my double-sided sticky tape just to hold down that heart until I can sew around it. And to make that heart pop a little bit, I'm just going around it with my Stabilo watercolor pencil and dipping it into water just to make the lines a little darker. And now this was the part I wasn't sure how this was going to turn out, but it actually turned out really well. I'm taking this kind of fuzzy string and I'm using my glue. I'm writing the word love going across the heart and trying to glue it down. It took a little bit to glue and to let it dry fully, but it did work. Lastly, just adding these letters at the top so it says my love. And here's a look at my finished tag. And I love the way it turned out. So the last prompt is book page, crinkle, and metallic. So I'm starting off with another one of my food packaging pieces that I cut into the shape of a tag and covering it with a book page. So the book page, I did some coffee dyeing and stamping to it. And then this is a tracing paper sheet, and I just crinkled it all up and then unraveled it a little bit. I didn't flatten it out completely, and then I'm just kind of going over it with this gold paint. And I decided to go around the edges of my tag as well with the gold paint. And the thing that I am thankful for here is my mom. Actually, I'm thankful for my entire maternal line. I grew up with all of my grandmothers surrounding me, and so I'm very thankful for that. So I have this image that I got from a book, and I'm gluing this down as my focal point. And then the strips that I have of my tracing paper, I'm just kind of going over the edges to make them pop a little bit more. And I use a piece of my double-sided sticky tape, and that allows me to just kind of lay down my tracing paper and fold it as I go, so it kind of gives the look of a paper ruffle. And then I do go around the edge of this and do my sewing. And I grabbed a piece from the same book. It says My Mother, and I just glue this at the top, and then of course add my fibers at the top, and here is my final product. So thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I would love to see your creations if you decide to try these prompts. If you post your photos of what you create in Junk Journal Divas with me, or if you're on social media, use the hashtag Diva Delight or tag me so that I can see what you created using these prompts. Thanks again for watching.